The stars were cold that night. Millions of points of light stretched across the black sky, but none of them mattered to James Harlow. He was alone, stranded on a desert world far from Earth, and the silence pressed against him like a heavy weight. His ship had crashed days ago, leaving him with a broken communicator, dwindling supplies, and no hope of rescue. Every step he took across the hot, red sand sent a cloud of dust into the air. The wind was sharp, cutting his face. James scanned the horizon with tired eyes. Jagged rock formations loomed ahead, casting long shadows under the dim light of two suns. Somewhere beyond them he knew danger waited, but he had no choice. He had to keep moving. He paused, crouched behind a large boulder, and checked his suit system. Oxygen levels were low, water almost gone, hunger gnawed at his stomach. Every instinct screamed at him to stop, to rest, but he could not. Not yet. Not if he wanted to survive. And then he heard it, a sound that made his blood run cold. A low, guttural growl echoed across the rocks. James froze, his eyes darted around. Something moved in the shadows, something large. He tried to stay calm, remembering what he had learned on survival simulations back on Earth. Small movements, careful breathing, slow steps. But the creature saw him before he could react. Two glowing eyes appeared in the darkness, and James realized he had no weapon strong enough to fight it. He ran. Sand flew up around him as he sprinted toward the jagged rocks, his chest burning. Behind him, the growl grew louder, closer. He stumbled over uneven ground, scraping his hands and knees. The creature was fast, relentless. Just when he thought it would be the end, a bright light cut through the darkness. A beam, warm and strong, hit the creature, forcing it back. James fell to the ground, gasping for breath. "Move!" a voice shouted. James scrambled to his feet and saw them for the first time, strange, tall figures stepping out from a hovering ship. Their suits shimmered like silver in the fading light, and their eyes glowed with intelligence and something kind. Without hesitation, they fought the creature with strange weapons that shot beams of light. It was over in seconds. The creature collapsed, retreating into the shadows. One of the figures extended a hand to James. "You are safe now," it said. Its voice was calm, almost musical. "We will help you." James could barely speak. Who are you?" "We are the Zephyrians," the figure replied. "And you human are far from home. Come with us." That night aboard their ship, James learned the truth. The Zephyrians were explorers, travelers of the stars. They helped those in need, not for reward, but because it was the right thing to do. "You could have died out there," one of them said gently, "but we do not leave anyone behind." James wanted to thank them, but words failed him. Instead, he watched as the stars passed by the ship's windows, feeling a warmth he had not felt in days. He had been saved. Weeks turned into months. The Zephyrians taught him many things: how to navigate the stars, how to survive in harsh worlds, how to read signs in alien languages. James absorbed every lesson eagerly. He became a part of their crew, not just a guest. And though he missed Earth, he began to feel at home among them. But there was always a quiet thought in the back of his mind. Someday he would need to repay this kindness. He didn't know how, but he knew it would come. Years passed. James grew stronger, wiser, more capable. He had joined missions to distant worlds, helped colonies in trouble, and even negotiated with alien species that humans had never dreamed of meeting. But one night, as he stared out into the endless dark of space, he felt a strange unease. It was not fear exactly, more like a whisper in his mind, something calling, something urgent. The Zephyrians noticed his concern. "You sense it," one said quietly. "The universe has a way of calling those who were once helped, payback or perhaps a test, we do not know." James's heart raced. He had lived a long time in this new life, but now the past seemed to reach out across the stars. And it happened. The signal arrived. It was unlike anything James had ever seen. A message not in words, but in pure energy. It pulsed through the ship, through the stars, through every system he had ever known. The Zephyrians watched in silence as James approached the console. This is from Earth," James whispered, but it was not a simple message. It carried urgency, danger, and hope all at once. "We must respond," the Zephyrians said. "It is time." James's mind raced. Could he repay them? Could he protect the ones who had saved him? Could humanity stand up to whatever was calling them now? A countdown began, though no one had said it. The universe seemed to hold its breath, and then across countless light years the signal spread. It called to every Terran captain, every human who had dared to reach for the stars. James felt a strange calm in the storm of his thoughts. He was ready, not just for himself, but for all those who might answer the call. The Zephyrians watched him, silent, knowing that this human, once saved, would now be the one to rise. Outside, the stars continued to shine, indifferent and eternal. But James knew that soon everything would change. He pressed the console, sending a response back across the stars. The message carried his voice, simple and clear, but filled with determination. "I am coming." And somewhere, far across the galaxy, other humans saw the call. Their hearts stirred. Their ships roared to life. Every Terran captain was waking. Every Terran captain was answering. The stage was set. The adventure was beginning. James closed his eyes for a moment, feeling the weight of all that had come before. He remembered the desert world, the creature, the shining figures who had saved him, and he understood one simple truth. Sometimes the smallest act of kindness echoes across the stars, shaping the fate of entire worlds. But even as hope burned bright, the universe remained full of danger, mysteries, and choices yet to be made. And James, once a human in need, was now part of something far greater than himself. The light of his ship cut through the darkness. The engines hummed with life. And in that moment, James Harlow felt a thrill he had not known in years. He was ready to face whatever awaited him and repay the kindness that had saved him. The stars watched silently as he set his course across the galaxy. Countless stars shone quietly, unaware that something extraordinary was about to unfold. From the farthest human colonies to the busiest trading hubs, ships floated in silent orbit or drifted through asteroid fields. Life continued as usual, or at least that's what it seemed. Then it happened. A pulse of energy, unlike any natural signal, erupted across the void. It shimmered, stretched, and pierced the emptiness of space. At first, most humans thought it was a cosmic anomaly, a glitch perhaps in their instruments. But for those trained to sense danger, trained to act, the signal carried an unmistakable urgency. Captain Lena Voss of the Stellar Vanguard was the first to react. The bridge of her ship hummed with quiet activity as she adjusted the ship's sensors. She had spent years exploring uncharted regions, negotiating with alien species, and surviving threats that would have killed lesser humans, but nothing had prepared her for this. The signal wasn't a sound, it wasn't even words, it was a presence. A force that reached into her mind and tugged at her attention, sharp and insistent. "Sir," said her communications officer, a young Terran named Curran, "we're picking up a signal unlike anything we've ever seen." "It's—" Lena cut him off. "I know what it is. Prepare the crew. Set a course for the source." Curran's eyes widened. "The source? But it's outside the known sectors." Lena's lips pressed together. She had learned long ago that hesitation could kill. "We're not here to question. We're here to respond. That's what it means to be human." Far across the galaxy, on a mining colony near the edge of a gas giant, Captain Raoul Taker received the same pulse. His ship, the Iron Falcon, was barely capable of interstellar travel without refueling, but he felt the pull just as strongly. His first thought was fear. The energy was too strange, too commanding, it felt alive. And yet behind the fear, a spark of curiosity ignited. Humans had always thrived on curiosity, always answered the call no matter the danger. He looked at his crew, tired and roughened by years of asteroid mining, and said, "Pack up. We're answering. Whatever it is, we don't leave people in danger." It wasn't just these two captains, not just the explorers or the miners. Every Terran captain who saw the pulse of energy knew the same thing. It demanded action. Some had never met James Harlow. Some didn't know of the Zephyrians, yet the call was irresistible. A deep, ancient part of humanity recognized that someone somewhere needed help. On the bridge of the Celestial Dawn, Captain Amani Reyes adjusted her cloak and stared at the holographic map. Stars shifted, systems blinked, and a trail of energy led outward, pointing to the uncharted void. "Sir, we've never been this far from known space," said her navigator, nervously adjusting the controls. Amani smiled faintly. "Then it's the perfect place for humans to go." In the darkness between stars, ships began to move. From tiny one-person scouts to massive warships, Terran crews set their course with a single purpose: to answer the call. They did not know who had sent it or what awaited them, but the signal carried the unmistakable weight of urgency. And for humans, ignoring such a call was impossible. Back aboard the Zephyrian ship with James, the energy of the pulse seemed almost alive. It resonated through the corridors and filled every chamber with a faint, humming light. The Zephyrians observed in silence as James approached the main console. "This is it," James whispered. "The universe is calling." One of the Zephyrians, taller than the rest, with a calm presence, spoke. "This is not merely a request for help. It is a summons. You and your people are needed, James Harlow. Every Terran captain is answering because the threat is greater than anything you have faced before." James's mind raced. Threat. Summons. He had survived deadly worlds, alien predators, even the void of space itself, but he had never felt anything like this. A shiver ran down his spine. Outside, the stars seemed to shift. Ships moved in formations that were impossible for ordinary humans to achieve so quickly. It was as if the pulse itself was guiding them, a magnetic force tugging at human determination. Captain Lena Voss's crew watched in awe as her sensors picked up dozens of Terran ships already on course to the same destination. "They're all coming," Curran said. "Every Terran captain. How is that possible?" Lena didn't answer. She didn't need to. She felt it too. The pull of responsibility, the weight of being human in a galaxy full of dangers. Even as the ships moved closer to the signal, there were challenges. Space was not empty. Rogue asteroids drifted across their path, violent storms of charged particles threatened electronics, and strange gravitational anomalies tugged unpredictably at their vessels. Yet the captains did not slow. Each obstacle was met with ingenuity, bravery, and cooperation. On the Iron Falcon, Raoul Takeda barked orders to his crew. "Shields up, engines at maximum, keep your eyes open." His crew worked with precision, moving through the dangers with years of experience. And yet, despite all precautions, something unexpected happened. A ripple of energy shot past their ship. It was neither attack nor natural phenomenon. It was the same pulse but stronger, testing them, probing their courage and resolve. Raoul's heart pounded. He realized this was more than a call for help. It was a test. Meanwhile, James worked with the Zephyrians, scanning data streams, following coordinates, and calculating distances at speeds no human could manage alone. But James was human, and sometimes that was exactly what made the difference. He realized that the pulse wasn't just calling humans, it was measuring them, judging their readiness. Every decision, every reaction, every act of courage was being observed. And then, the first sign of what lay ahead appeared. A massive shadow crossed the light of a nearby star. At first, James thought it was a natural formation, but it moved, slowly, deliberately. "It's enormous," one Zephyrian said, their voice quiet but tense, "and it's coming." James swallowed hard. The call that had drawn every Terran captain across the stars was no ordinary distress signal. Something ancient and dangerous was stirring, and it had noticed them. Across the galaxy, the Terran captains were beginning to sense it too. On every ship, alarms buzzed, sensors flared, and crew members whispered prayers to gods they hadn't thought of in years. But no one faltered. Not Lena, not Raoul, not Amani, not any of them. Humans were a stubborn species. When called, they answered. That was the truth that ran like a current through every ship, through every heart, through every mind. And as the first Terran ships entered the coordinates of the signal, a breathtaking sight awaited them. A planet massive and glowing hung in the center of a nebula. Its surface shimmered with colors that no human eye could describe. But the beauty was not the focus, it was the warning. The planet was surrounded by strange, geometric constructs, giant, floating rings of unknown metal, moving in patterns that suggested intelligence far beyond human or Zephyrian comprehension. "This is impossible," muttered Captain Amani Reyes. "No civilization could build this." James's eyes widened. "It's not a civilization, it's something else, something older, something that waits for the right moment." The pulse had led them here. Every Terran captain, every human willing to risk their lives was on the same path. And for the first time, James understood the weight of what had been set in motion. They were not just responding to a call, they were stepping into a challenge that could determine the fate of humanity itself. And yet, despite the fear, despite the unknown, there was excitement. The thrill of adventure, the bond of humanity, the promise that even in the darkest corners of the galaxy, courage could shine. The first phase of the journey was over. The pulse had united humans across light years. Every Terran captain had answered. And now the true test was about to begin. James looked at the Zephyrians, then out into the stars. His hands tightened on the console. "Prepare the fleet," he said. "Whatever waits for us, we face it together." Outside, the nebula shimmered. The planet's rings turned slowly, and across the void a presence watched. Intelligent, vast, and patient, waiting. The humans had answered the call, and now the universe would see what they were truly capable of. The Terran fleet moved as one, a line of ships cutting through the endless black of space. Stars streaked past their viewports like silver rain, yet the darkness felt heavier than usual. Each captain knew they were heading into unknown territory, and the unknown was never kind. James Harlow stood on the bridge of the Zephyrian ship, staring at the fleet displayed on the holographic map. Hundreds of human vessels moved in tight formation, each under the command of a captain who had heard the same call. Lena Voss, Raoul Takeda, Amani Reyes, they were all here, all answering the same summons. But the fleet did not know what awaited them. "This sector has no charts," said one of the Zephyrians, their voice calm but firm. "No human has traveled here, be alert." James nodded. "We can't rely on charts, we have to rely on instinct and each other." The first test came sooner than anyone expected. A wall of floating debris appeared ahead, a shattered asteroid field glowing with strange energy. Sensors flared warnings, gravitational anomalies, erratic magnetic fields, and sharp, jagged rocks drifting unpredictably. Captain Raoul Takeda barked orders. "Evasive maneuvers, shields at maximum, engines, give me everything you've got." The Iron Falcon shuddered as it dodged a massive boulder, the crew gripping consoles with white-knuckled hands. Captain Lena Voss's ship, the Stellar Vanguard, moved with precision, weaving between debris with a grace born from years of experience. "Hold steady," she said. "Focus on the gaps, not the rocks." James watched, fascinated. Humans thrived under pressure. Every decision, every maneuver, every split-second choice was a testament to their adaptability. Even the Zephyrians, calm and methodical, could not match the instinctive brilliance of human crews in such a chaotic situation. But as the fleet navigated the asteroid field, something unexpected appeared. A ripple of energy, blue and crackling, surged through the void. It moved with intent, cutting through the debris and forming patterns no human had ever seen. The Zephyrians observed it closely. "It's not natural," one said. "It is alive in a way we cannot define." James's eyes widened. Alive like a predator, the energy pulses darted toward the ships, testing them, probing defenses. Crew members on the Terran vessels felt a strange pressure in their minds, a tugging sensation that was neither threatening nor friendly, yet impossible to ignore. Some froze in fear, others pressed on with determination. Captain Imani raised his ship. The celestial dawn was caught in the first wave. Alarms blared as energy arcs danced across the hull, disrupting power systems and sending sparks flying. "Divert all power to shields," Imani shouted, "and someone figure out what it wants." Her navigator, young and nervous, hesitated. We can't understand it." Imani's gaze was steady. "Then we adapt. That's what humans do." The fleet endured the energy storm, dodging and weaving, learning as they went. It was exhausting, terrifying, and exhilarating all at once. And through it all, James Harlow realized something profound. Humans were not just responding to the call, they were growing stronger because of it. When the energy storm finally passed, the fleet emerged into a calm, alien region of space. The stars here burned in unusual colors, violet, green, and silver. Floating above a massive planet was a structure that defied comprehension, a lattice of immense metal, suspended in zero gravity, pulsing with energy. "It's incredible," whispered Captain Lena Voss. "What is this place?" James stepped closer to the console. "It's where the pulse leads, and something tells me it's just the beginning." As they approached, the planet below revealed its secrets. Oceans glimmered with liquid that shimmered like molten metal. Mountains rose higher than any human-engineered structure. Strange storms danced across the surface, sending arcs of lightning into the atmosphere, and then without warning, movement. Massive creatures, part organic, part mechanical, rose from the planet's surface. They were enormous, their bodies glinting in the strange light, their limbs moving with precision and grace. They were not attacking, yet their presence was commanding. The fleet paused, unsure whether to approach or retreat. James's hand rested on the console. "They're watching. They know we're here, and they are waiting for something." The Zephyrians nodded. "This is a trial, a test. They measure courage, intelligence, and unity. Observe humans closely." Captain Raoul Takeda spoke over the comms, his voice steady. "Fleet, hold formation. Do not provoke. Show discipline. Remember why we're here." The Terran ships moved carefully, every maneuver precise, every captain communicating with silent coordination. And then something extraordinary happened. The energy beings, or whatever they were, began to mirror the fleet's movements. Each shift, each change in trajectory was mirrored by arcs of glowing energy. It was as if the fleet had entered a dance with an intelligence beyond comprehension. James's mind raced. "They're testing us, seeing if we can work together, not just individually but as a species." Captain Imani Ray spoke quietly, almost to herself. "If we fail, this ends badly. If we succeed, who knows what we gain?" Hours passed. The fleet learned, adapted, and overcame. The energy patterns shifted, presenting obstacles and challenges that pushed their skills to the limit. Humans improvised, cooperated, and persevered. The Zephyrians watched, their calm expressions betraying little, but their attention was intense. Finally, after what felt like an eternity, the energy beings ceased their motion. They receded into the lattice above the planet, leaving the fleet unscathed. James exhaled, a smile forming despite his exhaustion. "We passed the first trial." Captain Lena Voss's voice came over the comms, tinged with awe. "Not just passed, we impressed them." But the fleet did not relax. The planet below seemed alive, every movement hinting at further tests. Strange structures rose from the surface, moving with purpose. Shadows shifted across the landscape, suggesting life forms, technology, or something beyond human imagination. Captain Raoul Takeda leaned back in his chair, wiping sweat from his brow. "I've seen a lot in my life. Pirates, storms, alien species, but this is on a whole other level." James nodded. "And we're only at the beginning. The call that brought us here is far bigger than anyone can imagine." Night fell across the fleet's path, though there was no sun, only the glow of distant stars. Lights from the ships reflected off the hulls, casting shadows that danced like living creatures. And for the first time, James realized that fear and wonder could coexist perfectly. The humans had answered the call. They had survived an impossible journey, endured strange cosmic phenomena, and faced beings beyond comprehension. And yet the test had only just begun. In the silence of space, James Harlow whispered to himself, "We are ready, but are we ready enough?" Outside, the alien planet pulsed, the lattice above it shimmering with unseen energy. The creatures below observed silently, and the stars themselves seemed to hold their breath. The Terran fleet had crossed the threshold into the unknown, and the universe was watching. The Terran fleet hovered above the alien planet, its strange colors and glowing storms reflecting off the hulls of human ships. James Harlow stood on the bridge of the Zephyrian ship, his eyes fixed on the massive lattice structure that floated above the surface. It was impossible to gauge its size, immense, intricate, alive in a way no human technology could match. "Whatever waits down there," James said quietly, "is far older than any civilization we've met." Captain Lena Voss nodded, "And far more intelligent. This isn't a rescue, it's a test or a message." The first shuttle was lowered toward the planet. Small, agile crafts darted between the glowing rings and floating platforms. The fleet followed cautiously. Every Terran captain knew the rules: move slowly, remain vigilant, and observe. Below, the landscape shifted constantly. Mountains rose and fell, forests of crystal-like structures shimmered, and rivers of molten silver flowed through valleys. The very ground seemed to breathe as if alive. James felt a tug in his mind. The pulse that had drawn them all here was stronger now, almost like a voice. Not words, but emotion, curiosity, caution, urgency. "It's communicating," James whispered to the Zephyrian next to him. The Zephyrian remained calm. "Not to you personally, to all of you. It senses your intent, it measures your resolve." On the planet, the first Terran shuttles landed on a plateau of glowing rock. Shadows moved in the distance, creatures taller than humans, partially mechanical, partially organic. They did not attack, but they watched. Every movement, every decision, every expression of the humans was observed and analyzed. Captain Raoul Takeda stepped out of his shuttle, weapons ready but cautious. "Stay calm, do not provoke them." The creatures responded by shifting. They moved closer but not threateningly. Their limbs emitted soft pulses of light as if trying to communicate. Raoul frowned. "It's trying to talk." James and a Zephyrian approached the humans. "It's testing more than strength," James said. "It's testing understanding. Humanity isn't just about firepower. It's about ingenuity, morality, cooperation." Captain Amani Reyes stepped forward, scanning the creatures. "Then we give it what it wants. We show it humanity at its best." The creatures suddenly moved as one, lifting massive panels of energy that formed a pathway across the plateau. It was an invitation, or perhaps a challenge. "Look at this," Lena said. "They're guiding us, but where?" James felt a shiver run down his spine. Somewhere dangerous, somewhere critical. We have to be ready for anything. The first Terran group followed the path. The air shimmered, reacting to their presence. Energy arcs crisscrossed the sky, forming patterns that were beautiful and intimidating. Every misstep could trigger unknown consequences. Captain Raoul's team encountered the first trial. Massive crystal formations rose from the ground, shifting unpredictably. The pathway was blocked and energy pulses surged toward them. "Think, don't rush," Raoul shouted. "Observe the patterns." His crew worked together, mimicking the movements of the crystals, learning their rhythm. Slowly, carefully, they advanced. The crystals shifted aside, recognizing their coordination. James observed from above. "It's rewarding teamwork, patience, and adaptability. Every human captain who succeeds proves the species is worthy of this knowledge." Meanwhile, Lena Voss's team faced a different challenge. Floating orbs of energy blocked the path, each reacting differently to touch, sound, and motion. One wrong move could send them hurtling into the molten rivers below. "Careful," Lena said. "We have to think, not force." Her team tested each orb cautiously, listening to the subtle vibrations, watching the faint glow that indicated the correct interaction. After tense minutes, the orbs parted, creating a clear passage. Lena allowed herself a small smile. Humans adapt even when the rules are alien. Hours passed. The Terran teams faced multiple trials, each more complex than the last. Every success was measured, every failure noted. The creatures observed silently, their eyes glowing with intelligence and curiosity. James realized that the pulse, the lattice, the creatures, all of it was not just testing the humans' courage. It was studying them, learning what humanity was capable of, not just in battle but in thought, strategy, and cooperation. And then, humans encountered the final trial. A massive chamber stretched before them, floating above the planet like a cathedral of alien technology. At its center hovered a sphere of pure energy, constantly shifting, radiating power that made the very air hum. James stepped closer, feeling its pull in his mind. "This is it," he whispered, "the heart of the test." The Zephyrians nodded. "Everything comes together here. Your species must prove its worth." The sphere pulsed, and in that moment, visions appeared in the minds of all humans present. Memories of their past, choices they had made, failures they had endured, and moments of courage. It forced them to confront everything, their fears, their doubts, their regrets. Captain Amani Ray stumbled. This is too much." James reached out. "No, focus on why we're here. Focus on what makes us human. Courage, hope, ingenuity, compassion. That is the key." One by one, the humans aligned their focus. The sphere reacted. Its energy pulsed in response, brightening, stabilizing. The Zephyrians observed quietly, impressed. Suddenly, the chamber shook. Energy arcs shot outward, connecting the humans, the sphere, and the lattice above. The creatures stepped closer, as if acknowledging the human's success. James felt a rush of clarity. The test was not to conquer, not to fight, not to dominate. The test was to understand, to cooperate, to rise above fear and instinct. And in that moment, the sphere spoke, not in words, but in pure thought. It showed images of distant stars, threats approaching humanity, and civilizations that had risen and fallen before humans even existed. "This is why we called you," James realized. "Not just to save one human, but to prepare an entire species for what comes next." The creatures shifted, forming a protective barrier around the sphere. It was clear now, humans had passed, but the lessons were only beginning. Captain Raoul looked around at the other captains. "We did it, but I feel like this is just the start. Something bigger is coming." James nodded. "Yes, and every choice we make from now on will matter. Every act of courage, every decision, every moment of unity, it will shape the future." The Zephyrian spoke softly. "Humanity has proven itself worthy, but be warned, the universe does not give second chances. Challenges lie ahead and not all will survive." James's heart pounded, fear and excitement intertwined. "We face them together," he said. "We show them what humans are capable of." The creatures receded, leaving the chamber empty, yet the energy of the sphere remained. It pulsed softly, a reminder of the trials and of what humanity had achieved. Outside, the alien planet glimmered, calm once more. The Terran fleet regrouped, each captain reflecting on the trials they had faced. Some were exhausted, some were exhilarated, all were changed. James looked at the stars. The call that had drawn them here had not just been a summons, it had been a challenge, and humanity had answered. But in the distance beyond the planet, something stirred, something vast, something patient. The universe was watching, and the next test would come. The stars above the alien planet shimmered with an uneasy light. The Terran fleet hovered silently, vessels of every size and shape, each reflecting the determination of humanity. James Harlow stood at the helm of the Zephyrian ship, staring at the void beyond the planet. He had faced countless dangers before, but the feeling now was different. The universe itself seemed to be holding its breath. "Captain Harlow," said one Zephyrian, their voice calm but tinged with concern, "the final stage is near. You must prepare yourself and all Terrans to confront what lies beyond the shadows." James nodded. "We've come this far, we will not falter now." Across the fleet, every Terran captain prepared their crew. Weapons were checked, shields strengthened, and systems optimized. But this was more than a physical battle. Every captain knew they would need intelligence, courage, and trust, not just in themselves, but in each other. And then it began. A shadow moved across the planet's glowing surface. At first, it was subtle, almost imperceptible, like a ripple in the fabric of space. Then it became massive. Towering shapes emerged from the planet's storms, creatures larger than any human imagination could comprehend, composed of energy and matter intertwined. They moved with precision, their eyes glowing with ancient intelligence. Captain Lena Voss tightened her grip on the controls of the stellar vanguard. "It's alive," she whispered, "and it's aware of us." James felt the pull of the pulse intensify. The energy sphere which had guided them this far now radiated urgency. It was warning them, preparing them for the ultimate confrontation. Captain Raoul Takeda's voice came over the fleet's comms. "Formation Delta, shields up. Engage only if provoked." The fleet moved as one, a dance of ships weaving between the glowing rings above the planet. Each captain acted instinctively, yet in perfect coordination. Humans had answered the call, but now they were facing the consequences of that answer. From the shadows of the alien storms, the massive creatures struck. Energy waves erupted, sweeping across the fleet like tidal forces. Ships trembled as shields flared and alarms blared. The sheer power of the entities was overwhelming. James felt the Zephyrians tense beside him. They are testing strength, strategy, and unity all at once. one said. Failure here is fatal. But humans did not falter. Captain Amani Rays of the Celestial Dawn commanded with clarity. Focus on patterns, not panic. Observe, adapt, survive. Her crew responded, adjusting their maneuvers to match the unpredictable surges of energy. Every Terran captain did the same. Despite fear, despite the impossible odds, they moved as a single entity. Coordination, instinct, and ingenuity allowed the fleet to survive. James realized the truth. The creatures did not attack to kill, they attacked to measure, to test humanity's ability to respond, adapt, and work together under impossible circumstances. Hours passed in a blur of energy blasts, dodging maneuvers, and calculated risks. Ships that would have been destroyed in normal circumstances survived because humans were resourceful. They repaired damage mid-battle, improvised strategies, and protected weaker vessels. James's heart pounded. It's not just courage, it's our ability to think, to cooperate, to protect each other. The energy beings paused, hovering above the fleet. Their glowing forms pulsed rhythmically, and James felt a deep connection forming. He realized the final stage was not about destruction, it was about recognition. Captain Raoul spoke over the comms. Look, they're changing their formation, aligning with us. The massive creatures mirrored the fleet's movements, creating a pattern in space that glowed with radiant energy. It was breathtaking, terrifying, and beautiful. The pulse that had guided the humans all this way now harmonized with their actions. James turned to the Zephyrians. They're acknowledging us. We passed the test. Yes, said one. Humanity has shown courage, intelligence, and unity. The pulse was not just a call for help. It was an invitation to prove your species is worthy. The energy sphere above the planet blazed with light, and a new vision appeared in James's mind. He saw distant worlds under threat, civilizations facing extinction, and the potential of humanity to rise, not just as survivors, but as protectors, explorers, and leaders among the stars. Captain Lena Voss exhaled, awe and relief in her voice. We did it. Every Terran captain, we proved ourselves. James nodded, but his mind was already thinking ahead. This is only the beginning. The pulse has shown us what we can achieve, but it also warned us. Challenges will come, greater than this, and humanity must be ready. The creatures slowly retreated, returning to the planet. Their glowing forms dimmed, but the presence of intelligence remained. James knew this was a promise as well as a warning. Humans had earned respect, but the universe held far more danger and opportunity than they had yet encountered. Captain Amani Rays smiled faintly, though exhaustion was evident in her eyes. We faced the impossible and survived, together. James turned to the Zephyrians. What now? The tallest Zephyrian placed a hand on James's shoulder. Now you lead your people forward. You take the knowledge, the courage, and the unity you have shown here, and you face the galaxy. The pulse will guide when needed, but humanity must chart its own path. Outside, the stars shone indifferently, yet James felt a connection to them he had never known. Humanity was no longer just a species of fragile, fledgling explorers. They had proven themselves not through conquest, but through intelligence, courage, and heart. Captain Raoul taked his voice cut through the silence. Fleet status check, everyone accounted for. One by one, confirmations came. Every Terran captain responded. Every ship survived. Every human had faced the trial and emerged stronger. James allowed himself a small smile. The journey that began with one human saved years ago had grown into a story of an entire species rising to meet a challenge. The kindness of a long-ago rescue had echoed across the stars, shaping destinies in ways no one could have predicted. The Terran fleet slowly regrouped above the planet. Ships repaired, crews resting, minds processing what they had experienced. The pulse that had called them all now faded, but its presence lingered in their hearts, a reminder of what humans could accomplish when they stood together. James spoke quietly to the Zephyrians. We will honor this. We will protect, explore, and rise. That is what it means to be human. The Zephyrians nodded. And we will watch. Humanity has begun a journey that will change the stars themselves. As the fleet prepared to depart, James looked at the horizon. Beyond the alien planet, the universe stretched endlessly, full of mystery, danger, and wonder. And for the first time, he felt truly ready, not just to survive, but to thrive. Captain Lena Voss's voice came over the comms, calm but firm. Set course for the next unknown. Humanity answers the call always. James Harlow stood at the helm, watching the stars. The pulse had ended, the trial was complete, but the story was far from over. Humanity had proven itself worthy, but the galaxy was vast, and countless challenges awaited. And as the Terran fleet soared through the stars, one truth became clear. The kindness that saved a single human years ago had changed the fate of an entire species, and humanity was only beginning to show what it could do. The universe was wide, danger was real, but humans, united, brave, and ingenious, were ready. The stars watched silently as the Terran fleet moved forward, and for the first time, the galaxy understood the power of humanity.